My mother always said you can't hold a man too tightly, or he's bound to push back. So when Adrien publicly took a young model as his mistress, I didn't cry or throw a fit. I only asked him, "Will you divorce me for her?" He said he wouldn't, and then gave me a villa as compensation. Not long after, his young model found out she was pregnant. He came to me and said, "Jenna won't have the baby unless I give her a legitimate status. Let's get a temporary divorce. After she has the child, we'll get remarried." Later, I waited for a very long time. I waited until he and that woman had their second child. And still, I never heard him mention remarriage. But it didn't matter. At least now, just like him, I had a son and a daughter. I had just finished preparing the baby food and was about to feed my children when a message I hadn't seen in a long time suddenly popped up. It was from Adrien, who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. He said, "Summer, come back. Let's get remarried. Civil Affairs Bureau. 8 a.m. tomorrow." The text was cold, but I could almost see him, looking down on me, his expression filled with disdain for everything. Just like 3 years ago, when he had asked for a divorce. He had come home with Jenna, who was 3 months pregnant, wrapped in his arms, and casually told me, "Jenna won't have the baby unless I give her a legitimate status. Let's get a temporary divorce. After she has the child, we'll get remarried." He said he couldn't wrong the mother and child, so I would have to be the one to make a sacrifice. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask him why he would so easily cast aside our 5 years together. But just as I was about to speak, I remembered my mother's words. She had said, "Men get wild when they get rich. But even if he has 100 women on the side, as long as his heart is with you, you can turn a blind eye sometimes." I nodded, not arguing with him. I only asked him one question. "Do you still love me?" My question seemed to bother him. A flash of annoyance crossed his eyes, and he replied in a low voice, "Summer, we're almost 30. There's no need to be so sentimental, always talking about love." In that moment, I felt like I had my answer. And yet, I also felt like I hadn't. I didn't say another word. I efficiently packed my things to make room for the new woman of the house. The next day, we met at the Civil Affairs Bureau to file for divorce. As we walked out with our divorce certificates, he gifted me a new sports car. His expression was sharp, his tone a warning. "Summer, you'd better behave yourself for a while. Don't cause any trouble for Jenna. After she has the baby, I'll contact you about getting remarried. But if you don't behave, you can forget about it." Not far away, my mother's eyes were fixed on us. The words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat. I gave a stiff nod. I replied, "Okay, I'll be good and wait for you to contact me." But what I wanted to say was, "Don't contact me again. Let's just end it here." But I didn't dare. I knew that if I did, my mother would throw a fit when I got home. Just like the night before the divorce. She had cried inconsolably, hitting me as she wailed, "Why is my life so miserable? I finally found you a good family, and you don't even know how to keep a man's heart. Why did I give birth to such a useless thing?" Now, they had the answer they wanted. Satisfied expressions appeared on their faces. As Adrien was about to get in his car, my mother rushed over from the side of the road, handing him a beautifully wrapped gift box. Her tone was fawning. "Son-in-law, this is a special care package I put together. It's good for the pregnancy. Take it back for her to eat. And I hope she has a big, healthy baby boy." Adrien said nothing, just shot me a meaningful look filled with mockery and contempt. My face burned with shame. I instinctively reached for her hand, trying to get her to stop. But she irritably shook me off and said loudly, "What are you doing? If she has a healthy son, you'll benefit too. When you get remarried, that child will be your son. What's wrong with me being nice to my grandson?" To this day, I can still remember his parting words to me after she said that. "Summer, sometimes you should really learn from your mother. Be more magnanimous and open-minded." So I took his advice. I sold the sports car and villa he gave me on the second-hand market. With part of the money, I bought a 3-bedroom apartment and a practical car for myself. The rest, I invested. But sometimes, when I saw other happy families, I felt a pang of envy. So, without telling anyone, I went abroad alone and gave birth to my own set of fraternal twins, a boy and a girl, my own flesh and blood. Now, looking at my 2 little ones eating so obediently, I put down my phone and didn't reply to his message. I thought he would get the hint that I had no intention of remarrying. But a short while later, my mother burst into my apartment as if she had won the lottery. She immediately started rummaging through my things, asking, "You and your son-in-law are getting remarried tomorrow. Why aren't you looking for your documents? Hurry up and find them for me." Hearing this, I understood. Adrien hadn't just told me about the remarriage. He had told my mother too. I didn't move. I watched her cruelly. "Mom, when he told you about getting remarried, did you tell him I have 2 children?" My mother's search stopped. She turned to look at us, rolled her eyes in disgust, and pointed at my children. "They're just fatherless bastards anyway. Just give them away. You're not actually thinking of bringing them into the family, are you?" When I had returned from abroad a year ago with 2 babies in my arms, she had thrown a massive tantrum, terrified that Adrien would find out and refuse to take me back. She had insisted I give the children away. I hadn't listened, and had quietly cut off her allowance for 2 months. Only then did she back down. But I never thought that even now, she hadn't given up on the idea of getting rid of my children. Looking at my mother, her face full of dreams of a wealthy future, her words full of malice toward my children, I sighed and took a picture of them, right in front of her. I sent it to Adrien with the message, "I have 2 children now. Can you accept that?" Adrien replied almost instantly with a single question mark. Seeing this, my mother's eyes widened in fury. She shrieked that I was insane, that I had just personally destroyed my own path to wealth. I ignored her and was about to go back to feeding the kids when another message from Adrien came in. "Summer, are you trying to mock me for having 2 kids? Your mother already said it. My children are your children. Why are you sending me a picture like this just to spite me?" Before I could reply, he called. I didn't want to answer, but my mother snatched the phone before I could. Her expression changed instantly. She adopted a soft, syrupy tone. "Hello, son-in-law. This is..." Before she could finish, a child's petulant voice came from the other end. "You bad woman. My daddy's not going to marry you. We have our own mommy. We don't need you to be our mommy. You're not allowed to come to our house. That's right. We don't welcome you. If you dare to come, I'll beat you up." Following their voices was a familiar one, tinged with helpless indulgence. "All right, little ones, that's enough. Auntie Summer is a very nice person. She'll treat you as her own." Then, Adrien's deep, husky voice came through the phone. Hearing that long, lost voice, my body tensed. I suddenly remembered the day my father had an affair and brought his mistress to our house to cause a scene, trying to take all our valuables. My mother, terrified of his fierce demeanor, had trembled and whispered, "Her son needed to go to a private school. I listened to you and gave you all the money. I really don't have any more." Before she said that, I never knew she had been giving money to my father's mistress for her son's education. I was shaking with anger, but I was afraid my father would hurt her, so I stood in front of her. That day, my father refused to believe we had no money and started waving a knife, threatening to kill us. But in that critical moment, my mother pushed me behind her, shielding me completely, and Adrien arrived just in time with bodyguards to restrain my frenzied father. Adrien used his family's influence to gather evidence and had my father sentenced to 8 years in prison. The night my father was sentenced, Adrien, afraid I would be upset, came over to stay with me. Seeing me cry silently as I looked at the verdict, he held me close, full of pity, and gently comforted me. "Don't be scared, Summer. I'm here. I'll never let anyone bully you again. I'll protect you from now on." My mother was crying too. "Summer, your father's gone to prison. You're all I have now. For the sake of me protecting you, will you listen to me from now on?" Her words completely silenced the questions I had been about to ask. At that time, I really wanted to ask her why she had given money to the mistress's son, why she had lied to me and said we had no money, giving me only 100 yuan a month for living expenses. But I knew that it was all in the past. No matter what answer I got, what was lost was lost. I even naively thought that I had Adrien now. He would be my rock, helping me mend the broken pieces of my heart. But I never imagined that by following my mother's advice, by not meddling in his private life and giving him freedom, I would end up with a sharp blade plunged into my own heart. Now, hearing Adrien's patient voice coaxing his children, I suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. "Adrien, I'm not kidding. I really do have 2 children. And taking care of 2 children already takes up all my time. I don't have time to be a nanny for your children as well. I spoke calmly, plainly. My mother, however, was fuming, glaring at me, just as she was about to speak again. I reminded her, Mom, I believe your spa membership is due for renewal, isn't it? If you still can't tell right from wrong, I don't mind adding unfilial to my list of sins. She fell silent, not daring to say another word, just glaring at me with disappointment. On the other end of the line, Adrien laughed with disdain. Summer, what kind of joke is this? Have you forgotten the doctor's diagnosis when we got married? You can't have children. There was nothing wrong with my medical report. The problem was with him. He had a low sperm count. The moment I got the report, I lied to him, telling him the problem was with me, just to protect his male pride. During our marriage, I had secretly been helping him with treatments and dietary changes, all in the hope of having a lovely child with him. Later, when he brought that woman home and said he wanted a temporary divorce to give her a legitimate status, I had originally planned to tell him the truth, that he had fertility issues and couldn't have children. But then I remembered what he and my mother had said. They both told me that all I needed to do was be Mrs. Sterling and not meddle in things that didn't concern me. So I let go of the idea. I don't know what he was thinking now, but his tone softened. All right, Summer, I know you've been waiting to get remarried. It's my fault for making you wait 3 years. After we register our marriage, I promise I'll give you another grand wedding, just like before. But no matter how grand, it could never be the same. I didn't respond. I simply hung up the phone. Summer, why are you so ungrateful? Do you have any idea how many women are vying for the position of Mrs. Sterling? My mother chided, her voice full of disappointment. I looked up at her, my gaze cold and unflinching. Mom, since you're so bored, why don't you go get a job? Right in front of her, I canceled her supplementary card. My mother panicked and immediately promised she would never meddle in my affairs again. I didn't pay it much mind. The next day, I didn't go to the appointment. Adrien called me several times, but I didn't answer. Perhaps his pride was wounded. After a few tries, he stopped calling. A week later, I was coming out of a postpartum yoga class when I saw Adrien and Jenna arguing on the street. Jenna was dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, her ponytail half undone, her hair obscuring a face that was tired and worn. Adrien, are you divorcing me just to get back with that bitch Summer? Don't you forget, I gave you a son and a daughter. How can you just abandon me like this? Faced with her accusations, Adrien looked impatient and angrily shook her off. His eyes were full of disgust. Enough. Look at you. You look like a crazy woman. Besides, Summer and I were always in love. If you hadn't been so cheap as to crawl into my bed and get pregnant, why would I have ever divorced her to marry you? Adrien, you think you can just get back with Summer after you divorce me? Let me tell you, no woman will ever take back a man who betrayed her. Do you think you're some kind of prize that she can't live without? Her words struck a nerve. He knew it was true. The Summer he knew now was no longer the docile, obedient woman from before. That day, he had waited at the Civil Affairs Bureau from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 12 full hours. And he had never seen me. He wanted to come find me but couldn't swallow his pride. You bitch. Adrien, enraged, shoved Jenna away from him. Just as he was about to slap her, he caught sight of me out of the corner of his eye. A look of visible awe and the joy of finding something lost flashed in his eyes. Adrien lowered his raised hand. Just like when we were younger, whenever he saw me, he would subconsciously straighten his clothes to look his best. Then he would run toward me with a smile. Summer, long time no see. Are you here to see me? His voice trembled with joy. In contrast to his excitement, I was perfectly calm. It has been a while. He thought I was complaining about him not contacting me for 3 years and rushed to explain. Summer, I wanted to come find you sooner, but... He glanced at Jenna, who was glaring at me, and gritted his teeth. It's all this woman's fault. She had a baby, and then a year later, she drugged me and got pregnant again. That's why I couldn't come find you sooner. Summer, I've divorced her now. Come back. I miss you. The way he looked at me no longer held the contempt and disgust from 3 years ago. Instead, it was filled with the same passionate love he had for me when we were young. Seeing this, Jenna's eyes filled with undisguised malice. She strode toward us, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Miss Summer, you must be really desperate to get married. Still holding on to someone else's husband after 3 years. Did you know we have a son and a daughter? They can even talk now. Or is it that you can't have children of your own? So you like being a stepmother? You shut up. Before I could say anything, a flush of anger appeared on Adrien's face. He snapped at her. You're the one who destroyed our relationship. What right do you have to say that to her? When it comes to being shameless, no one can beat you. Jenna's face turned shades of red and white. I glanced at him coolly. 3 years ago, when he had asked for a divorce, he had held Jenna tightly, shielding her behind him, terrified I would hurt her. When Jenna had cried and offered to abort the child and leave, he had held her even closer, gently calming her down. He had told her, I want both you and the child. As long as I'm here, no one will hurt you. I will divorce her and give you a happy home. What he told her was completely different from what he told me. To me, he said that after the child was born, we would get remarried. To her, he said, I will give you a happy home. His heart, it was both big and small. He could accommodate 2 people at once, but couldn't love one person with his whole heart. All right, you two stop fighting. My kids are waiting for me at home. I won't keep you. I took a step back coolly and was about to leave. Hearing this, Adrien thought I was just making an excuse to leave. He actually smiled and said, Then I'll come back with you. I'd love to see these so-called children of yours. He emphasized the word, children, with a teasing tone. I didn't understand. Were my words so unbelievable? I looked at him and said calmly, My children are shy around strangers. Maybe another time. Summer, stop fooling around. I know you don't have any children. I also know you're upset that I have 2 kids. But don't worry. I've already told them that from now on. You're their only mother. Adrien spoke in a conciliatory tone. Or, if you feel like you can't bond with them because you didn't raise them, we can adopt a baby. We can raise her from infancy, just like our own. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I have my own children, and I'm supposed to raise someone else's. I opened my mouth, about to speak, when a store clerk from a nearby baby store came out to take out the trash and saw me. Her eyes lit up, and she hurried over. Miss Summer, are your son and daughter coming for their swim class this weekend? We want to prepare in advance. Yes, they are. I might be busy, so I'll have a friend bring them over. I smiled back at her. The color drained from Adrien's face. He looked at me in disbelief. What? What son and daughter? The clerk was confused. Miss Summer's children. A boy and a girl. They're absolutely adorable. I've never seen such cute kids. Her words were like a clap of thunder, striking him down. Adrien trembled, his voice full of disbelief. You really have children. How old are they? Are they mine? He asked several questions in a row, his voice growing more and more shaky, filled with an unmistakable excitement. He seemed to think I had been pregnant when we divorced. The clerk's confusion deepened, because my children's father was of mixed British and Chinese descent. They had both inherited their father's blue eyes, and Adrien was fully Chinese. If I didn't clear this up, people would start whispering. While I didn't care what others said, I wouldn't let my children suffer any injustice. We've been divorced for 3 years. My children are only 2. How could they possibly be yours? My expression was neutral, my tone casual. The hopeful look on Adrien's face froze. How is that possible? You said you would wait for me. Jenna, as if hearing the world's greatest joke, couldn't wait to chime in. See, Adrien, I told you she was no good. There was no way she would just wait for you to ask for a remarriage. And now, she even has children with someone else. You shut up. The smile on Adrien's face completely vanished. His eyes were filled with a helpless sense of betrayal. He reached for my hand, his voice trembling as he asked, Summer, that's not true, right? You said you would wait for me. I did say that, but I was forced to. For a long time, I had hoped that my mother would one day come to her senses. I hoped she would learn to love me like other mothers. But after my divorce from Adrien, the one thing she asked me most often was, Has your son-in-law contacted you? Did he say when you're getting remarried? Don't just sit around at home like a useless lump. Go see him. Make your presence known. Otherwise, he'll really forget about you. And then what will you do? At that time, I had asked her, in your eyes, Is it impossible to live without a man? I believed that I could give her a happy life on my own, but she was never satisfied. In response to my question, she had looked at me, exasperated. You need a man to have a complete family. If you two hadn't gotten your father sent to prison, do you think I'd have to endure people calling me a widow? In that moment, I knew she had always blamed me for not signing the papers to reduce his sentence, for insisting he go to prison. And it was because of her words that I finally woke up. Whether it was family or love, if I couldn't have it, then I didn't want any of it. Seeing my silence, Adrien broke down, screaming hysterically. Say something. When I brought Jenna home, you didn't say you minded her being there, did you? You agreed to it. Why did you go back on your word? Or is this just another way for you to get revenge on me? I did mind. The first time I found out Adrien was flirting with someone else on his phone, I cried. I threw a fit. I couldn't understand how the person who had said he loved me just the day before could be so casually planning to sleep with someone else today. That time, I went crazy. I smashed everything in the living room. I thought that by expressing my dissatisfaction so strongly, I would be met with his guilt and regret. However, he had looked at me with impatience and disgust, as if I were some crazy woman making a scene on the street. He had asked me, "Summer, are you done yet?" I had screamed back, "No." A short while later, he had called my mother and asked her to come talk some sense into me. My mother rushed over and saw me standing there, trembling like a mad woman. Without a word, she slapped me across the face. She had berated me. "Summer, are you insane? Do you want this life or not? Adrien just made a mistake that all men make. What's so unforgivable? Why can't you just let it go?" Looking at the two of them, a united front, I felt the stinging pain on my cheek, and my frantic emotions slowly calmed. I told him, "Let's get a divorce." Before Adrien could say anything, my mother started slapping herself, crying and shouting, "If you dare to get a divorce, I'll kill myself right here." He knew that no matter what happened, my mother would always be on his side. After that, whenever a similar situation arose, he would always use my mother to control me. Even the day he brought Jenna home, he had called my mother over, afraid I would make another scene. So now, faced with his questions, I tilted my head slightly. "Why do you think I agreed?" "You know why." My question silenced him. A flicker of guilt crossed his grief-stricken eyes. "Summer, I did that because I didn't want to really lose you," he said, desperately trying to defend himself. "If Mom hadn't been there that day, would you have spoken to me calmly? In that situation, we would have just hurt each other and destroyed our relationship without even realizing it." Laughable. I couldn't even remember when we had gone from talking about everything to having nothing to say to each other. And in this situation, he was still worried about destroying our relationship. "Adrien, don't you think that's ridiculous?" "Summer, really?" Before he could finish, my phone rang. It was the nanny from home. She said the babies were awake and crying for me. Hearing their cries on the other end of the line, my heart clenched. I felt an urgent need to go home. "My children are awake. I don't have time to listen to your excuses. Adrien, let's just leave it at this. Don't come looking for me." With that, I turned and left without a backward glance. Adrien tried to follow, but Jenna stopped him. She shouted after me, "She already has children. A family. Are you still fantasizing that she'll abandon them to be with you?" "Adrien, don't be so naive." I didn't hear the rest. My heart and mind were completely focused on my children waiting for me at home. That evening, I was lying in bed, reading a bedtime story to the babies, when Jenna inexplicably sent me a video of her children. A bad feeling immediately washed over me. I opened it instinctively. In the video, two children in thin clothes were kneeling in front of a door, crying and begging, "Auntie, please don't take my daddy away. Mommy and I really need him." "Yeah, Auntie, please stop seeing my daddy. My brother and I can't live without him." They cried as they kowtowed, their foreheads bruised from hitting the ground. Seeing this, my heart tightened. Jenna was doing this to appeal to my empathy as a mother. But children are not tools to be used in a fight for affection. Besides, I had already given up on Adrien completely. I had no intention of remarrying him. As I was wondering what to do, Jenna sent another message. "Miss Summer, you're a mother too. You should know what's best for your children. If you want your kids to be labeled as the children of a homewrecker, you can just ignore my message." Her words were a blatant threat. I laughed in anger. I took a screenshot of the video and her message and sent it to Adrien. "Control your wife and kids," I wrote. "I don't want this to happen again." Adrien replied quickly, his tone almost desperate in the voice message he sent. "I'm so sorry. Summer. I had no idea she would send you that. I'll take care of it. Please don't worry about it. Summer. Mom told me your children were from IVF, that they don't have a father. I'm willing to take on the responsibility of being a father to them, to take care of you all. I hope you'll consider it. Give me a chance to make it up to you." Hearing his message, my hands started to tremble with rage. I had explicitly told my mother not to interfere in our affairs, but she just couldn't stay out of it. I didn't reply to him. Instead, I canceled all of my mother's various memberships and froze all of her bank cards. Over the past 3 years, of the money I had earned from my investments, I had given her a third, just so she could live out her days in peace. But since she refused to live peacefully, she could just not live at all. After handling that, I transferred half of my assets to my children's names. The trust would only become effective when they came of age. It was a safety net I was leaving for them. When my mother found out her cards were frozen, she stormed over to my house in a rage. "Summer, what is the meaning of this? Are you disowning your own mother? After I raised you all by myself, I should have never given birth to you." I listened to her accusations, my heart numb. I took out the disownment papers I had already prepared, along with a bank card. "If you sign this, I will give you 1 million. I told her. Her face grew even redder with fury. Just as she was about to explode, I continued, "Or, you can sue me. I will pay you a fixed amount of alimony every month, as required by law. Other than that, I will not give you another penny, nor will I be responsible for your life." Hearing this, my mother froze. She never thought I would be so ruthless. She trembled as she asked, "Summer, are you serious? Are you really disowning me?" She was the one who disowned me first. My expression was calm. I showed her no more mercy. "Have you ever wanted me? When you were belittling me in front of Adrien, did you ever think of me as your daughter? When you were disgusted by my children and wanted to give them away, did you ever think of them as your grandchildren?" She could be so tolerant of a mistress's children, but couldn't even spare a smile for my own. My words left her speechless. For a long time, she couldn't form a complete sentence. "Sign it. 1 million is enough for you to live on." "No. Summer, we can talk about this. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. You can't do this to me. I know I was wrong. I'll never side with outsiders again. I won't meddle in your private life anymore. The children. I'll help you take care of the children." I had heard these promises before. I shook my head. "Mom, you only have these 2 choices." In the end, she chose a comfortable life over a life of poverty. As she left with the money, tears welled up in her eyes. "Summer, it's not that I want your money," she said, her voice trembling. "I just need to secure my future. If you ever need anything, remember to call me. I'll do what I can to help." Even at the end, she was still making empty promises, saying things she didn't mean. I paid her no mind, simply pushing it out of my thoughts. When Adrien found out about this, he realized he had lost his only remaining ally. He showed up at my door with diapers and formula for the kids. Seeing him standing there, laden with bags, I frowned. "What are you doing here?" "Summer, I've never met your children. These are the brands my kids use. I don't know if they're suitable. You can take a look. And if they're not right, I'll go buy new ones." He frantically showed me the items in his hands. "And, afraid I would refuse," he added, "these are for the children. It's a small gesture from me. Even if you don't want them, you should think about the kids. I can buy my own children what they need. I don't need your things. You can take them back." My tone was calm but distant. Adrien acted as if he hadn't heard. He proudly presented a simply wrapped food bag. "This is the green bean cake you used to love in high school," he said, talking to himself. "The owner is still the same after all these years, and the taste hasn't changed. You should try it." The owner hadn't changed, and the taste hadn't changed. But we had. I didn't take it. I looked at him coolly. "You know I signed disownment papers with my mother, don't you? I was able to give up on my own mother, the woman who shares my blood. What makes you think you're so indispensable to me?" He was the one who had given me hope. He was also the one who had brought me despair. How could he so easily expect my forgiveness? After saying this, a wicked thought came to me. I continued, Last time, you said I had a medical condition and couldn't have children. But I went abroad and got pregnant on my first try with IVF. Can you guess why? Adrien, isn't it possible that your precious children are just karma for betraying our marriage? For betraying me. I was never a good person. The first time I found out he was cheating, I had wished with all my heart that he would get what he deserved. That everything he ever wanted would turn to dust. My words hit Adrien like a ton of bricks. His eyes widened in disbelief. He took a step back, muttering to himself, "Impossible. What you're saying isn't true. Those 2 children. They have to be mine. If you don't believe me, you can get yourself tested. See if there's a problem with you." That was all I had to say. After that, I didn't spare him another glance. I shut the door in his face without a shred of pity. Not long after, I heard that Adrien had taken the 2 children to a hospital for a DNA test. The results showed that they had no biological relationship. Adrien went crazy and confronted Jenna. Jenna, upon learning of the test, had tried to run, but Adrien's men caught her. At that time, Adrien, full of rage, brought the test report to the room where Jenna was being held. "You bitch. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" He angrily threw the report in her face. Jenna, seeing that there was no escape, gave up all pretense and laughed at him with contempt. "Explain. What do I need to explain? From the beginning, I only told you I was pregnant. I never said the children were yours. You're the one who wanted to be a hero. What does that have to do with me?" A dark, menacing aura surrounded Adrien. He grabbed her by the neck, his voice seething. "You bitch. If you hadn't crawled into my bed and then shown me that ultrasound, why would I have ever thought those bastards were mine?" The thought that he had divorced me for someone like her sent a wave of uncontrollable rage through him. His grip tightened. Jenna's lips quickly turned white. The extreme lack of air made her face turn a ghastly shade of blue. The 2 children, hearing the commotion, ran into the room. Seeing the scene before them, they ran over crying, trying to push Adrien away. "Daddy, let go of mommy. Don't hit mommy." In the past, Adrien would have done anything for them, because he believed they were his hard-won children. But who would have thought that the children he had doted on for 3 years, neither of them was his? "Get away from me." His eyes were bloodshot. He ruthlessly kicked away the 2 children who were kneeling on the floor, crying and begging him. "You 2 bastards aren't fit to call me daddy." "Shut up." Jenna, seeing her children kicked aside, whimpering in pain, was filled with anguish. Adrien, if you're angry, take it out on me. Don't hurt my children." Then, she shouted to her daughter, who was cowering in the corner. "Lily, call Daddy Leo. Tell him Adrien has gone crazy, that he's going to kill us." Hearing this, a crazy thought flashed through Adrien's mind. He trembled as he asked, "These 2 bastards, are they Leo's?" Leo was his best friend. Ever since he had returned to work at the family company, he had hired Leo as his special assistant. He never thought something so absurd could happen. "Yes. So what? You're not a real man anyway. Did you really expect me to be faithful to you? Dream on." That night, Adrien lost his mind. Everyone in the house, including Leo, who had rushed over after getting the call, was caught in his rampage. When the police arrived, responding to his own call, Adrien was sitting by the front door, covered in blood, a complete mess. When questioned by the police, he said in a hoarse voice, "Wait for my lawyer. I'll go with you then. Just give me a few more minutes." A few days later, an unfamiliar lawyer came to my door. He said, "The day Mr. Sterling turned himself in, he drafted a share transfer agreement. He's giving you everything he owns. He said it's what he owes you. He also asked me to tell you he's sorry." Adrien's actions were heinous. Once he went to prison, there was no coming back. The agreement he drafted was not just a share transfer. It was also his will. I accepted the documents and thanked the lawyer. I turned to look at the stroller by the nanny's side. My 2 precious babies were smiling sweetly at me. It was as if a beautiful life was waving at me. I put away the contract, smiled, and walked toward them. "Come on, little ones. Let's go home."